My father was a mathematical brain. He employed that into horse racing, shares, and was doing fantastically well.
Okay.
But when he was advising people also, when the scam happened, it hit him hard. My father went behind bars. I did 52 checks on the aircraft. I followed 70 procedures to do a flight. I should be in the Guinness Book of World Records because I did a full lunch service on a Bombay-Goa 30-minute flight time, with tea and coffee. And I had an infant emergency. I wrote a letter, open letter to Sachin Tendulkar on Facebook when the whole world was calling for his retirement in 2009. 2009, stupid to write, Sachin Tendulkar, Planet Earth. I put it on Facebook and I write a letter there. After 5 years, somebody passes on the letter and I get a call from his manager. Vikram, can you fly down to Bombay? Sachin wants to spend time with you. I flew down, me and Sachin hung out.
That's true. So how's it going? Tell me.
Great. I think I like to say good, bad and ugly
Why?
because life is like that. We are in a habituated manner to say that we are fine. Some things are really rocking it and some things scope for improvement and some things by nature or effort take time. They're not an absolute nose, but I think that's how it is. And I'm very excited that there are a few things ugly teaching me what to further change ahead.
That's a very, very different perspective actually to look at. Yeah.
Totally.
Good. Otherwise people will say, yeah, it's going good. Yeah, you're right about that. Definitely. Yeah.
True.
So you told me that you have your drama thingy lined up, right? So you're into acting. How does that go?
So I think we'll come back to what we possibly will speak about it later. But there has been an evolution to where I am and what I'm doing.
Okay.
So possibly,
So let me just, take a pause here. So what is it exactly that you're doing just now?
right now I'm a full-time actor.
Okay.
And my book is going to come out this week. It's called The Mirrors on the Tides.
Mirrors on the
Tides.
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 Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a reflective book.
Okay.
And it can go anywhere from cinema to a memoir
Okay.
to a date with Julia Roberts,
Okay.
to anything as to how I was struggling to open a jam lid. So it's a book which purely is about life and for all its colors that it comes with, and how everything is actually guiding us, teaching us something in some way.
So this is coming next week, you said.
Yeah, possibly
many,
this
many
week.
Congratulations.
Thank you
We're
so
looking
much.
forward
Thank you
to
so
it.
much.
We're looking forward to it, definitely. Okay, on this one, Vikram, let's just, go deeper into the ADHD part. Okay, since ADHD is something a lot of people face, they're not aware about it, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
to begin with, what is ADHD exactly?
Sure. So first, I'd like to possibly delve a little bit into my journey.
Sure. Yeah.
I am not a medical practitioner.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
I am not somebody who treats people on ADHD.
Right.
But I have been diagnosed ADHD, which I found out 5 years back.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And to me, it is a gift.
Okay.
I'm so glad I'm ADHD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you say that?
I'll explain what it is. It clearly stands for Attention Deficient Hyperactive Disorder.
Right.
Right. And the world looks at the attention deficiency of it. And hyperactivity is not so much, in most cases, it's possibly ADD, which sticks on around adults. But as a child, you'll see a lot of boys who are very hyperactive too.
Sure.
So, for the longest time, humanity saw this in children, saw that there were some kids who were very easily distractible, forgetful, won't come into an orderly manner, were not obedient. And they blamed it on saying we need to really straighten him out, discipline the child, get his focus there.
Right.
And they were primarily judged for the longest time. It's only, I think, by 1980s where a lot of mental health researchers came down to call it ADHD. And now in the US, the numbers were close to 8% of US is ADHD. But that is of the people who are tested, possibly. If you
Exactly. That's the number that's
it will
out
be
there.
so.
Yeah.
In ideal circumstances, around 20% of the planet is ADHD.
ADHD.
Yeah.
Okay.
The trouble is, we have got into a pattern of life, and we want everybody to follow the same pattern of life.
Right.
But the difference is, your brain and my brain and anybody
Cannot
else,
work the
we are
same
just
way.
built differently. And if we understand that, we realize it's not a disorder. You know, we are trying to align it to a pattern, and that's why we call it a disorder, right?
Right. Fair.
While if we change the patterns, we would want a mix of people in every task or every classroom. So basically, our minds function very differently. Right? Some people are super organized. They can't tolerate chaos one bit.
Right.
You can call them OCD.
Yeah.
They might be a different lot. There are some people who swing completely. The behaviors swing from being extremely orderly to being chaotic,
Right.
and they could swing around, right? While ADHD is primarily, see, the basic symptoms are very simple. A person would be forgetful, you know. A person might put his keys at the same place every day. An ADHD guy might forget where he kept it 5 minutes back.
Okay.
Yeah. So for me, a lot of times the delay is when the Uber comes, I'm running around to figure out where did I keep my keys. Sometimes I keep it exactly where it is. Sometimes it's still in my pocket.
And you're still looking for it.
Yeah, looking for it. Yeah. They're forgetful. They are.
This is something you always have from the childhood, you're saying, right? It's not like you can develop it, basically.
Yeah. So
once you're-
ADHD, from the researchers, it's come out that purely is a genetic.
Okay.
Yeah. You don't get it due to any psychological. Either one of the parents, he might be unaware.
Okay.
Might be ADHD, might be having that kind of a brain which functions differently. Yeah. And so if I look at my father, I realized he was ADHD. And that's why he did a
Now that
plethora
you're
of
aware
things.
of it,
Yeah. He was possibly, but he was very lucky. I wasn't so lucky in the way the world reacted with me being the way I was, you know. So they're easily distractible. They are always working, they're below their potential, working below their potential. They are always stuck in a rut. Yeah. They are challenged by time.
Challenged by time, I think I'm challenged also because of acceptance. The acceptance will not come if the child is, being easily distracted.
Yeah.
Per
You know,
se, for the
what
family.
what I'm trying to say is that
The symptoms
if you look at, if you want to
Yeah.
notice somebody with ADHD, these will be the symptoms, easily distractible, impulsive, right? Stuck in a rut, sometimes motivationally challenged.
Do they get motivation looking at other people? Maybe, I'm just trying to basically relate something. So maybe if you're looking at, if it's a kid, okay, and the sibling, the two, one might be ADHD, the other one might not be. So will the ADHD one want to follow the other one?
No, they'll be, see, it's just that the way I am built, I can't change that. I can understand what is my strength. I can understand what impacts my daily functioning and work on changing those aspects. But understanding what is my strength and really taking off on it. So if you possibly look at the planet, some of the greatest people on the planet have been ADHD. Whether it's actors, mostly you'll see most of the actors. Yeah.
Just to name a few.
Robin Williams,
Okay.
Johnny Depp,
Okay.
Tom Cruise.
Okay.
There's no end to it. Abhishek Bachchan is, I mean,
Is it documented though?
Yeah, I mean, they've all spoken about it.
Okay,
Right?
sure.
Whether it's John F. Kennedy, whether it's Michael Jordan. Yeah. I would assume Sachin Tendulkar, looking at him, the way his childhood was he was very naughty, always hyperactive. Yeah. The other aspect of ADHD is when they find what they like, they can hyperventilate on it. They could miss their meals. They could be for
finding the-
72 hours they could be zoned out into doing that task completely.
If they find the motivation and the ambition and what is their interest.
No, so the mind, I'll explain to you how the ADHD mind is.
Okay, just to make it very simple, okay, let's just say there's a 5-year-old, okay, random 5-year-old. How do we figure out, okay, before taking him to the doctor, per se, okay, and finding out really medically if he really has ADHD, what are the symptoms? Namely, what are the things we should look for?
See, I'll talk about my journey as a child, as a 5-year-old,
Okay.
I was very impulsive. I would suddenly say something out of the blue. Do something stupid out of the blue. Very spontaneous and impulsive.
Okay.
Yeah. If you could possibly correlate Tom Cruise jumping on the couch on an Oprah show, that's a symptom.
Oh.
He didn't care, he just did it. It just came to him. Right? So that's Richard Branson is like that. He's one of the finest.
Being excited and
about wanting
something.
So they don't think twice, they'll just do it. They don't have that fear element. They don't think that. So very impulsive. Yeah. I might be talking to you right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of something else.
I could have 5 things playing on my mind right now. Yeah. Could be the logo of this society.
What are you thinking of right now?
Yeah. No, right now I'm quite focused because this topic interests me. We are in that zone. But my mind right now would be wanting to say another 5 things. But for me, to have that executive function to decide on what is a priority to speak is where I might be different from the others. So my thoughts might be sporadic in nature.
Okay.
But they might be of a genius kind. So in my jobs, wherever I've been, I might come out with the most creative ideas. But if you ask me to become a process expert, which is do something diligently day after day after day after day, that might bore me out. So the trouble with ADHD kids is most of the world thinks this happens with everybody. You get distracted. You can't sit in a place for too long.
It's like they're normalized.
Yeah. You might say something out of the blue, very hard to focus. To sit still in one place. This happens to everybody. But with ADHD kids, it's happening. It's like a concert is happening in their minds all the time. It's like you're at Chandni Chowk. There is a traffic which is there is a lot of chaos which is happening, and you need to find which is your challenging driveway and get hooked onto it.
Okay.
So a key aspect, what you'll hear from kids, from the teachers, आपका लड़का सीट पे बैठता ही नहीं, उठ के चले जाता है, बात नहीं सुनता है, बहुत ज्यादा बोलता है, हाँ, he's distracted, उसको पूछो, याद नहीं रहता.
यार ऐसे बच्चों का तो then confidence is being killed.
Yeah. So that's the trouble. That the understanding is lacking in parents, and teachers.
Absolutely. Yep.
Totally. So for an ADHD child, so if you look at a lot of great ADHD kids went through homeschooling. Where the parents understood and they understood how to Edison, right? If you possibly look, so even when I was in school, my grades were always in the 60s or 70s.
Okay.
But my mother, she realized that I had an eye for something.
Okay.
So I went into boarding school from class 1.
Okay.
My father was in the army and my mother was in the police.
Okay.
And they never got posted together for 18 married long years.
Right.
So I saw very little of them. We only met in vacations. So when I would come back, she would see that if I was given an encyclopedia, I would just run through it completely.
Wow.
And the memory would just stay. So she subscribed all the magazines to me. So when I was in Mayo College, everybody came with Walkmans. That was the mid-80s, retro music. So you can explode it. At home, you had Doordarshan. I could binge out on Doordarshan from the time, to Parliament News,
Okay.
and absorb everything. Yeah. But if you ask me to sit down and do my homework, that might be a challenge for me. Yeah.
Get it. Yeah.
So for me, my mother gave me a transistor. She was very clever. So in 6th class, I started tuning into shortwave channels.
Okay.
And suddenly I go for a quiz competition. I never lost a quiz in school.
Wow.
Because I had heard all the
knowledge.
music. I knew exactly the top 20 of Voice of America, what time were top of the pops. what was Australian Broadcasting Corporation, SLBC, Radio Deutsche Welle. Suddenly I go for the middle individual quiz championship and they still are shocked. I remember the questions like, how many runs did Gary Sober score in Test cricket? 10 runs here or there. I say 8,032. And you're getting shocked. How do I knew 20 top scores that time. So the other thing which was part of me was, so even in my book, I've described how my mind could be so imaginative. So if a teacher was teaching me English, within seconds, my mind would go to the sound of the chalk.
Okay.
And distract me instantly. The Madar Hill out of the window was my reassurance. The Madar Hill could literally morph into the face of my mother and my father, and I'd start imagining them right there. I might notice the squirrel outside a little longer.
So did you struggle with the regular school exams?
I
67.
made major blunders, but the beauty is, see, the other thing is, I told you we are time challenged. We have a problem in organizing our time. Like for this meeting, we had a certain time. Now, I know about ADHD. For me, whenever I'm given a time, I put half an hour before that as the deadline.
Okay.
Because if I was supposed to come at 12, 100%, whatever I might plan, I might get a call. It might go a little lengthier there. I might take a little longer in my shower. Might not realize.
That's being organized also.
Yeah. So you have problem in organizing things. So I had trouble with that there. So most of the kids. So if my score was 60 in maths, I would have possibly read the subject only last few days and studied 60% of the course and got 100% out of the 60 I studied. The fact I got 60, so it's not that I was intellectually, lacking.
Of course.
So in Mayo we had, even in those days, like Usha Albuquerque became a major career counselor, so we had these tests of reasoning ability. So they found out when they did the test, I still have the report lying with me, which was done in 1986 at that time. Vikramdev is intellectually superior. He should follow arts and humanities.
Wow.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
And I was in B section. Strangely, in those days, there was a little bifurcation. If you were exceptional, you were in A section, B were average, C, and they were putting the D
into arts
section
and
in different and putting focus. In fact, section D, where there were more hyperactive kids, were more ADHD. They needed to be treated normally, but it wasn't so in those days. So
I'm just gonna stop you here. So one, you mentioned that this is genetic, right?
Yeah, it is
So
genetic.
it has nothing to do with your psychological impact on how a child grows up at all?
No, it
Nothing.
can get worse if it's not dealt with properly.
Right.
Yeah. Because the other
But the inception of it, it's just there's
It's genetic.
It's
Mostly
genetic. Okay.
It's mostly just, we have to understand, if you look at the globe as well, most of the leaders that we are talking about right now in politics, possibly Putin needed more hugs as a child. Our PM needed even more reassurance in some way. There is some insecurity or something which is rolling out. And
In other ways.
Yeah, in other ways.
Yeah.
Now it's proven that the way you handle your child till the time he's 7 or 6, that gets programmed into his mind, and it takes years of therapy to change that. Yeah. So I was not so lucky, because when I knew what I figured out, so I had this great instance where so my book writing also, just to give an example, I was not much of a reader. So one of the things about ADHD is the trouble is difficulty in initiating a task and finishing it completely. Okay. We struggle with starting it, but once we get started,
then you're
but just that ignition could be a problem. So for me, my writing ability started with my mother. She always wrote a letter every Friday since 1980. I was more connected with her being away. We express far greater than two people staying in the same house.
Okay.
And so when I started to write, initially it would be simple. We did this in class and that, and she started to question me more about tell me more. And that's when we started expression, and we had amazing teachers who also realized that we all think differently. So we had this great teacher who, the CBSE textbook, he rarely discussed it in class. He said, it's a book you're going to read. I'm going to give you a surprise test. This chapter, you're going to comprehend it and write it. But when we came to class, we would go on a walk. When we would go on a walk, everybody thought differently. So Mr. Thakur, Adi Thakur, would say, now write down whatever was going on in your mind.
Wow.
So I would say, what shall I write? Anything. You saw this, a car out there, you saw a sparrow, something was playing on your mind about last night's match. Vikram, you keep looking at me, you think I'm having an affair with that teacher, write about it. So it was, so we started to express more from the heart, So that writing ability just kept building on. And I have just been writing, and it's like since 2007 when I started to express on social media, and I just realized, oh, I'd written so much, it can become a book clearly, and that's how it came about. So coming back to the moot point about the the biggest thing with ADHD is the understanding. Unfortunately,
See, once now you've understood, for example, okay, just to sort of move forward a little bit. So we have identified that the child is ADHD, okay, or a person is ADHD.
Yeah.
What do you think the parents should basically, be doing to support them? Okay, one is understanding is one bit, but again, it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
For parents also that they're working. Most parents are working these days.
Yeah.
Both of them, right?
Yeah.
So to give that kind of attention, that kind of basically the right attention that the child needs, okay, or the engagement the child needs, okay. So how do you think we should go about that?
See, I think an ADHD child, if it one of the remedies of a
Because
ADHD,
schools, Vikram, are not equipped.
yeah, so they have counselors
Yeah.
who will identify,
Yeah.
they'll put you through tests,
Yeah.
and they'll say you need to go to a hospital.
Okay.
But most of the hospital industry will say medicated, give him Ritalin to slow him down a bit,
Yeah.
to cut down the hyperactivity.
Yeah.
But that's a short-term gap.
Absolutely.
Maybe there are some severe cases where it might be required, But by and large, a lot of channelizing
Yeah,
is
the right channelizing does it.
Doesn't happen,
But
yeah.
then, that kind of time or that kind of investment for the teachers or to parents to put right now in today's date, practically, if you look at it, it's slightly difficult. Of course, if you're privileged.
See, the biggest change which needs to come into the education system is that the teacher needs to understand his classroom is basically a farm with different chemicals out
Of
there.
course, yeah.
And everybody is retaining that information in a different way.
Yeah, see the ratios, but
Yeah.
what we have today,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
30:1 in regular schools, right? Or it's 15:1.
So if you look at Silicon Valley, most of the people in Silicon Valley are moving to a Waldorf system of education, which is to learn through experiential and nature. More experiential schools are now coming into
Sub-schools,
being.
they're coming up.
Because you need to understand. The understanding has changed about what comes with the child. So the first thing, once you know that my son is ADD or girl is still, the girls are still a little, it's not that prominent in them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's
They're
a
a little more,
difference.
yeah, there is a
Okay.
slight difference.
Okay.
In the boys, it's a little higher.
Boys naturally are comparatively hyper, right?
So some of them will still be able to focus once they're told.
Okay.
But a ADHD child, if he's playing video games, he will go on non-stop for hours. Even if you tell him 5 times, he might be deaf to it until you come and pull it away from him. You have to come into the way
I get
and
it.
snap it out.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So a lot of ADD children I know. some of
Boys,
the-
I'd say specifically.
yeah. So a lot of ADD parents I know, they don't have televisions at home. They've got books.
Okay.
So they hyperventilate on books. Your child might be able to finish a book in no time, because he has no option but to feed on that. Yeah. So
Just one more question I want to ask you. Okay.
Yeah.
A very sensitive one. For example, okay, a video game example that we gave just now. A child playing video games for hours and hours going on, right?
Yeah.
Books. Okay, if you haven't given the books to the child from the very beginning, let's say 3-4 years, now how do you put that child onto a book? Let's say, for example, today I realize, okay, I have a personal problem going on with my child, okay, today, right? So now the video game bit, if I want to remove it, how do I switch it to books? Now when maybe the age has passed,
See, I
let's
think-
say 10 odd years.
See, I think I'll give you an example. Like my son is addicted to cricket. I got him cricket books, and that's what my mother did. When she
Oh.
got me hooked onto books, she gave me Gavaskar's books.
Okay.
She gave me biography of Imran Khan, and I finished in no time.
Subject.
Yes, what is your interest? So the key thing is to identify what interests the child.
But by what age can you really identify what is the interest of the child? Because see, up till 7, 8, they're still exploring. One day they want to try swimming, one day it's cricket, one day it's football, one day it's basketball. So it takes a bit of time. Can you tell really from the very beginning what the interest is? I think it's
You'll have to be a little, and that's why they say the first 7 years are so important for you to really observe your child.
Yeah.
You know, and have that discussion with him all the time. So you might make him try everything, you know, which is fine.
Right.
Because he's getting to play. See, one of the big factors in ADHD treatment is they need to have sound sleep. All these things which you'll hear, you'll say that this is what is meant for everyone. But for an ADHD child, even more so.
Okay. So if it's a typical sleep, okay, a good night's sleep is 8 hours. For ADHD, it will be how much?
No, it should be 8 hours.
8?
Yeah,
8 minimum, okay.
See, I'm an ADHD child. My issue is I have a circadian clock which will wake me up between 4 and 5.
Sure.
So if I wake up early, I can't go back to sleep.
Okay.
You know? So for me, I'll possibly catch it up sometime. So I might be a little, all the time looking at times. So for me, I have to put some real strong ground rules to discipline myself, and which might not come. So even if I realize...
That comes with age.
Yeah, that comes with age.
Yeah.
So the brain matures a little later. Now they've said that a child's adult brain completely matures by 28, 29.
Wow.
Right? So anything which they are doing during that stage, and if you judge them assuming that they know everything, no, we all, and some of us are still getting healed in many ways.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
So for ADHD child, the diet makes a difference. Because your hyperactivity can go up with certain foods, with its sugars, gluten, you cut down on. So if they have a good protein diet in the morning, which is good, eggs or whatever, exercise.
Burning it out.
Exercise is the main one, because it starts changing the functioning of the brain through the day and burns a lot of hyperactivity which might have been there.
True.
True. So for a parent who is identified, the first thing is to really educate yourself. So once you've educated yourself, I think you need to partner with the teachers. So I had this instance where a parent went and met his class teacher, and even went to the teacher and said, if you have free time, there is this course happening in Delhi for ADHD child. Can you go do that course? I will pay for it.
Wow.
She said, thank you. You need not pay. I will do it. She came back. You know what she did with that ADHD child? She made him the class captain and called him Jack Sparrow. Captain Jack Sparrow.
Wow.
So throughout the class, there was drama. So he was interested in everything. So Captain Jack Sparrow, can you explain to the class what we just spoke? So you'd come and enact it out. Tare Zameen Pe is the ADHD child.
Isme, Vikram, then giving responsibility works basically.
Yeah, I mean, what is interesting, you have to understand that child. Every ADHD...
acting is one bit, okay? Yeah. You're making him the monitor, but what she did was she gave the child recognition.
She understood. So the biggest thing in ADHD is you need more dopamine hits. So if you're flipping, it's a dopamine hit. If you're having something to drink, it's a dopamine hit.
You need that kick all the time.
So for ADHD person, if it's not treated well, they are easy to get into addiction. For them, they can't stay idle. So it might become smoking, might be having a drink all the time. Maybe pornography might become an addictive thing. It can lead to anything.
Yeah.
So for them, the key factor is for the parent to identify what the child likes early and let him be. Absolutely let him be. Trust his genius, because they are gifted. They will see things which you might not. They might give you solutions which you'll be surprised. So if you look at Bill Gates, you look at Steve Jobs, these are people who are playing with things early. Imagine a Steve Jobs calling a Hewlett-Packard president, and he's been opening up, playing with Lego and opening up things, and says, can I work in... He just pulled up the Yellow Pages directory, opened it, called the number and said, can I come and work on this system? At 14, he did that and he started making computers.
Wow.
These are stories which are clearly...
we have it.
Yeah. So the key factor, I think, what needs to change really is... My personal opinion is when parents Like when we go drive a car, we get a license, right?
Yes.
Nobody's training a parent to be a parent.
But that is, in our society, it's just taken for granted. See, I'm also married, I have kids too. But today, if I introspect, okay, getting married early, having kids early has its own, pros and
Absolutely,
cons.
absolutely.
One is like the society says, bhai, tumhare saath hi bade ho jayenge. By the time, they grow up, they'll be your friends. That is one bit. But then are you ready? Are you really ready to take that responsibility?
If you go to my LinkedIn profile, if you see what do I do, the first word is dad. Okay? Slash actor, slash educator, slash entrepreneur, slash animal rescuer. That's the ADHD.
Okay.
For me, because of my life journey, I've realized I've had gifts, talents, and I never listened to myself. I was always trying to be the obedient child, being the very cooperative husband, been trying to get into the flow when I was different, I needed to trust myself and get into. So I don't blame any one of them the way they made my journey, call it challenging. But I feel our system needs to change completely, especially we don't speak about relationships. When a child is 16, 17, needs to understand what is a
What
relationship.
relationship? I agree.
So if possibly in India, possibly if you look at
These days, children in general, in schools also, they know everything, okay? Let's just be honest, okay? By the time they're 12, 13, they know it. I don't know what's the inhibition. What is the inhibition in the society and parents?
Yeah.
They're not ready to make them understand or be open about what it actually is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I got invited at a university they're starting a Nasha Mukt club.
Okay.
Okay. I had possibly pretty much done all substances at a certain time.
Of course.
Had bad instances of binging out.
Okay. Okay.
These are all traits of ADHD which happen because I didn't realize.
Trying to get the dopamine, basically.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I didn't love drinks, but if I went to a party and somebody mixed drinks or something, there was no stopgap, and it could lead to dangerous consequences. You could binge out literally.
Yes.
So I went to this university, and I just asked, "What is the problem these days with the vice chancellor?" He says, "Vikram, we have 30,000 students. Do you know 48% are from broken families? That's an epidemic we are not talking about. And why has it happened? Because the generation before, which is my generation, we got trained by our parents thinking this was the right way to groom.
Yes.
And
even today, for that matter, let's be
so
honest.
me being a national quiz champion in 1989, being the second highest score in history, geography, my father put me into maths, physics, chemistry, biology in my +2. Imagine what that did to me.
Psychologically, of course, yeah.
And I watched Pretty Woman and saw a scene there where Richard Gere is throwing his lawyer out when he's trying to misbehave with Julia Roberts, and he says, "Get out," And that just triggered the actor in me, and I go back to my terrace and I scream out, "Get out!"
Wow.
Yeah. I have a range which was developed by me. No acting institute trained me on it. And I got a play to do Anton Chekhov by audition. And imagine my pre-board results comes and I got 39%. Obviously, I was not. And my principal says, "No, Vikram, you can't do the play." I said, "It's 2 days."
No.
And the whole cast says, "Vikram is the best actor. I mean, he needs to perform this character." I wasn't allowed to. I still, in the last 20 days, managed to get 64% in boards, and he spoke about it for months. But it carried on. I knew what I wanted to do early, which is to follow what I love doing.
But when did you start? Did you start really?
No, so that's exactly my journey.
Yeah.
In 2000, in 92, 92, there was so much happening, right? Across the country, we had Harshad Mehta scam happened, and so much happened. Babri, a lot of stuff happened. And we were all in that very turbulent time, right? I saw an ad of a hotel management, and I don't know anything about hotels, but I know how to read. I picked up Arthur Haley's hotel, read it, went there, and I take a 24-hour journey from Hyderabad to Manipal, and I go there, and I suddenly walk into the auditorium, and I see all these guys suited, booted, from Delhi, Bombay, and I get a complex. And I go back to the hotel room, have a conversation in the mirror with myself.
Wow.
And I come back, go there, and I just know at that point, I just had to trust myself. So going to the interview, till date, somebody met me from the interview panel, Vikram, we have not forgotten your interview. So when they asked me, Vikram, what if you don't get through? My answer was, "Sir, it'll be a big blow to the ITC." So they were shocked hearing my answer, I came fifth. But what I'm trying to say, in our country, we have Ashoka University, which does interviews. It's not looking for the run-of-the-mill percentage, looking at people with different minds, right? It's changing. The whole setup is changing, right? Bollywood stories are going across, including different stories now, especially in the OTT format. So the whole world is opening up
Changing.
to being more open.
Right.
Education has to go that way. Children need to be educated. So if you look at most of the divorces, once you get divorced, the moment you go through the Domestic Violence Act, you get shocked. 5% is violence, but 95% is about what you were speaking to each other. But if you're aware of it in 12th, you would deal with your partner with more dignity and care.
That comes with age also, Vikram. That
No, but
really,
that education needs to, what makes a relationship? That nobody's teaching kids or adults about that, right?
See, basic education.
How do you know that this person is meant for me, right?
It's hard to say. See, even if you, for example, they come up with a system wherein they teach you about relationships or how you're supposed to be dealing with certain situations, but when you really get onto it, things are different. It's easier said than done.
No, so what I'm saying, at least it'll minimize the damage, right? Like ADHD, you can minimize, you can't change complete thing. The ill effects of it, you can minimize with a certain awareness and education.
Can I ask you a very personal question, if you don't mind?
Yeah.
Please feel free to say no. So, do you think ADHD was the reason for your divorce? Yeah. To what extent, or to any extent?
See, I feel.
Talking of relationships.
See, I think I always feel that when it's a broken relationship, we both have unhealed things. So it's a collection. It's just a wrong mismatch which happens.
Yeah. Okay, go for
so
it.
It is that the perception of what I should be and my perception of what she should be, there's a mismatch. And the moment we land up healing our scars, so me and my ex are best of friends today.
Okay.
I in fact had the opportunity that I convinced her even after my marriage to move in with me, and we homeschool our child for 6-7 years.
Okay.
And they moved out again. I go see them every other day.
Wow.
Wow. So we are the best partners today, but when we realize that we're just different, but had we had that knowledge earlier, it would have been very different. It would have been very different.
I think having the knowledge is one thing that will obviously help to a certain extent. But I think, age does it. I think age really makes a difference. Because the experiences and the learning that happens over time cannot be taught in that, specific a course, let's say, if they're taking up in school for relationships.
No, so for you to judge me, like I might be right now, while we're talking ADHD, but we've kind of gone sporadically into multiple other things too. That's our area, but we might be covering the whole gamut in a very different way. If you had a better understanding of it, you're very acceptable to it, right? While if you were very structured and say, no, we're digressing, let's get back to this, and we just follow a very strict format, and we would miss out on some of the magic which might happen naturally because of a conversation.
So that's what I'm saying. See, that's exactly what I was coming to. Basically, in relationships, if they get on to, come up with a structure per se, right? Again, or otherwise, if it's free flowing with age, okay, what do you think will work better?
See, I think I am a very strong believer in awareness.
Yes.
If we are aware, it is like
Do you believe in astrology? I'm sorry, I'm just going to
see. I have understood this. Astrology doesn't mean it is going to happen.
No.
Astrology means this is how it looks. You have the power to change it.
You have the free will to change it. Why I asked you if you believe in astrology or not is because, see, there are certain combinations and which you're born with. Okay, and there are reasons why we have these planets. Okay, they say in astrology that Shani is basically the Saturn planet. Saturn is basically responsible for the maturity part of it. Okay. So they say up till age 28, most people are not matured to a certain level. Okay. if you look at people around you, right? By the age of 28, I think everybody to a certain extent settles down. Certain extent will always settle down. Mentally, emotionally. It's the age. It plays a role.
I feel, see, I've seen people who've gone to astrologers and they said, you're going, आपकी साढ़े साथी चल रही है. They flowered during that time. It's not.
No. Sadhasati is not bad. We're not going to go in deeper into this. No, that is one part
I'm
of it.
saying
What I
people
was trying to ask you is that age really plays a role.
No, of course, maturity. Your mind is maturing. Your experiences are teaching you every single day. So I keep telling everybody that when you meet me today, you might have spoken to me last week. I'm a different person today, completely. I have experiences, I don't know how many millions thoughts. I've been through circumstances again, and every day there is an epiphany, unconsciously or consciously. It is all getting absorbed. Right. So, absolutely, you're absolutely dead right. That see, that's the thing about ADHD too. A lot of symptoms with age, like hyperactivity, definitely slows down immediately by 18. I mean, if you see a guy always shaking his head or fidgeting in a class, he won't be doing it that rate.
Socially also, there's so much observation happening. You start to act a certain way. Then things naturally come into play.
So age definitely is. But what I'm trying to say is that our education is going to, and that's the thing which will change the planet about everything.
Improvement chahiye.
So if we educate everybody, like every teacher needs to know that a class is a mix of people.
I think what really needs to come in on a broader perspective is acceptance. Do not expect people to be a certain way. Give them the freedom to be who they are.
No, so if we understand that every individual is different on this planet, we have 8.5 billion people. Totally different to each other. We have 8.5 billion teachers, literally.
You take off that pressure and the flower blooms.
And if you are putting the same treatment for everybody, it's going to create issues.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
Totally. Yes, I understand.
And that's the big shift which has to happen, acceptance of what it is. And even if the way we started the conversation when you asked me, how are you? Good, bad, ugly, right? It is a reality of our life. The weather changes multiple times. Now we have more rains and summers. These days the weather is changing, right?
Everything's changing.
So we have to accept everything the way it is, and in some way have that deeper thought that it's all for a greater reason why it's evolving, right? If you look at our clan, we were apes, right? One of us got up, became bipedal, touched something, peeled a banana, it all evolved from there. We were not supposed to consume all we do. Sugar is a processed product, it's not natural. And we're all coming back, we're going to a millet economy,
we're moving here.
Everything which we were actually consuming in the trees is what we need to consume again.
Right.
Which is coming back
to it. Of course.
So it's all, I think the COVID really helped the entire community in every way, and there's still a battle on which you can see everywhere where a correction is still happening. It'll take time getting there. But I think with the current generation, they've grown up on social media and on internet.
And does this affect the ADHD?
It is obviously more addictive. Everybody's impacted with it, right?
Everybody
Even people who's not ADHD are addicted. They need the dopamine hits. They want their likes. They want to be seen, heard, liked, appreciated, all that, right? But if that education somewhere comes, and this is what I was having a conversation with my ex only. We were just talking about ADHD a few days back, and I was saying the biggest thing which an ADHD child needs is kindness around, but the biggest kindness he needs is himself, to be kind to himself. Because the moment he does something wrong...
Can you just elaborate that bit? Kindness to himself, like how?
It's like my son went for a match, got out.
Okay.
The way he might express himself and feel so guilty. My parents are putting in effort. He might be really too harsh on himself.
Oh.
He got bad scores and somebody said in the class, this guy, he is so lost in the class. He will take it personally and program himself. अरे यार मेरे से तो ये
हो नहीं
रहा है, ना होगा पता नहीं, मैं इतना कोशिश करता हूँ नहीं होता हूँ. You know, so that kindness, especially to himself, I got that early from my mother. You know, she in the letters would always say, irrespective of whatever people will say, Vicky, understand there is a voice in yourself which says you are the best. The moment you start listening to that more, and sometimes be deaf to what I am saying also, because I might be reacting to things sometimes.
Yes.
You know? So if you build a certain deafness, everything has a message. You can see what is meant for you and employ it.
I think in the end, from this, what I can gather is that if your parents are really there, okay, as your backbone to support you, no matter what it is, be it ADHD or some other problem, I think you get through.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No matter what's going on in school, nothing.
I would not call ADHD a problem. ADHD.
No, it's not a problem.
I'm saying it is a gift which people need to understand. That the moment if you have an ADHD child, 50% of the CEOs are ADHD because they are able to think about 10 things together, and they have organizers to do the organizing. They don't need to do the organizing. Somebody is organizing the planner. They have this idea, somebody executes it. Right? It's a known fact. So you need to have that understanding clearly. So our education system really needs to change in that manner.
Vikram, sorry, I'll just stop you there. So is your son also ADHD?
See, I won't call him really ADHD.
Okay.
He's gifted.
Okay.
Yeah, like me.
Sure.
He's gifted.
He's gifted. Okay, I understand. Yeah. So what is it that you're doing differently for him today that maybe you had expected out of your parents? Of course, clearly your mother was very supportive, but other than that?
Firstly, I've taken him out of the rat race.
Okay.
Yeah. He doesn't need to prove anything to anybody.
Get it.
I have worked enough hard that I've given enough to them that he has a roof. Anytime he wants a meal, he will get it from my house. Enough
Does
of
that
saving.
take away from the
so he's
ambition?
free. So I want a child. My ideology is that a child, when he's an adult, by the time he's, we treat
How
children.
old is he again?
He's 17.
17,
Just turned
okay.
17.
Okay.
Yeah? But I've given him the freedom to do what he feels like at whatever time.
Okay.
But he needs to do stuff which he loves doing. That's a task given to him. And
That's beautiful. That's very good.
Yeah. So whether he chooses to take a break from studies, it's absolutely fine. I'll just give you an example. And this is part of this is like a mix of ADHD story. So when I went into hotel management, right? Within few months, something happened due to the scam. My father was a mathematical brain. He employed that into horse racing, shares, and was doing fantastically well.
Okay.
But when he was advising people also, when the scam happened, it hit him hard. My father went behind bars at that time, So I, from that perspective, came back with 18 backlogs. I didn't have a degree, So when I came back, what do? Something happened between me and my dad. I came to support him with this case, and I ran away from home.
Okay.
I did the door-to-door sales for 4 months. I made more money than anybody in the hotel industry running through a management training program. Who joined the Oberoi School of Management. Why? Because I just knew. So ADHD, see, you can see extroversion. There is no fear. We are more resilient because we take more risks. We know how to bounce back fast. So if I got slammed on the face by 280 doors,
It will not make a difference.
that won't make a difference.
It will not discourage you.
Next. If I cross 350, I had more sale. So imagine, I go back, I got tired in the summer in Hyderabad, and I said, okay, let me go back to the hotels, and I get a nice, they said, you need your degree to become a manager. So that became a receptionist at a 5-star hotel. They give me night shift. And one night, I won't name the celebrity, one of the top film stars in India, he wants a milkshake and, sandwich in the lobby. I said, sorry, sir, can't serve you that. Call up your GM. I said, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to do that. It's 12:45. So, but me, with the presence of mind, I said, Mike, the coffee shop is one floor down. He refused, saying, no, I'm tired, I need to have it here. I said, my back office is 5 steps away. It's very nicely furnished. I'll serve you there. I served it there. And he had it. Next morning, there was a complaint, and I was in front of the GM and getting fired. And imagine, because of my creative mind, he's talking to me and he's firing me. My mind is not there. I'm focused at the fax machine which is next to him. In those days, You would put a resume, it wasn't even called a resume, a biodata, curriculum vitae in a basket, and a personal manager would call you. There's nothing called HR. And I'm looking at those facts, and the thought is coming, what if I put my sales bravado and mail it directly to the GMs? So within hours, I call up the GMs of every five-star hotel and tell them, I want to hold a residential conference. I'm a CEO of a company. Can you send me a GM's fax number? And I mail my resume. All of them call me, who is this boy who has the guts to mail the resume directly? They all love me. They say, get your degree, Vikram, I'll take you. Yeah. Oberoi's GM says, Vikram, I like your guts. Two identical hotels, how will you sell mine? Get me a document in 24 hours. I go back. We had yellow pages. I sit down. Everybody who traveled to Hyderabad, whether it's the asthma fish treatment, BCCI, because Azhar was the captain, I put it all there, 25 pages. I go there, give it to him. He calls his entire sales team. 3 properties. This guy has 18 subjects to clear. Have you seen this? He liked my guts. He says, I like your guts. Let me try. So I had an interview with the president of Oberoi's, and they just asked me, why should I take you? Deepak likes you. I just said I was too young. I said I can run hard. He said, I'm not looking for athletes. So Deepak came back to me and said, I'm sorry, Vikram, I tried, but hang in there. Within 1 week, he calls me. He says, Vikram, congratulations. You're the first manager worldwide in Oberoi's without a degree.
Wow.
So it all happened because I was taking risk. My mind thought differently. I looked at things completely differently. Yeah. So one thing for a ADHD child is he's seeking novelty. He's seeking novelty all the time. He can get distracted. Yeah. So he needs to find.
That, to some extent can be very dangerous also. Like,
See, I'll tell you the dangers.
If from a parent's perspective,
Yeah.
okay, taking risks and everything, if you don't know what exactly you're going after, it becomes a bit of a problem though.
If you know ADHD, you will love your child to play with things. If you know what is ADHD, you know what it can do, you'll allow him to do. So, I mean, I imagine while I've been a cabin crew, I've been a receptionist, I've had sales for airline, I managed a call center, and that's also a story. Nobody was hiring a cabin crew. He said, sorry, you do veg, non-veg, how can I get you as a manager in operation? So I read 3 books, because of my reading habit. And I said, I will pay you, put me on there. I went there, the way I spoke about being a cabin, she says, you do veg, non-veg, I knew this question will come. Why should I take you?
Yeah, why
My
do
answer,
people look at it like that though?
they are just unaware what a cabin crew does.
Yeah.
I said, sir, ma'am, can I tell you what I did yesterday? I followed 365 regulations of DGCA. If I skipped one, a life would be risk. I'm tested on that every day when I go. I did 52 checks on the aircraft. I followed 70 procedures to do a flight. I should be in the Guinness Book of World Records because I did a full lunch service on a Bombay-Goa 30-minute flight time, with tea and coffee. And I had an infant emergency,
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you really had that one?
Yeah.
Wow.
And we managed that and we landed on time. And I then prepared a massive page report and submitted it. She says, when can you join? It was 5 minutes interview, So, see, what I'm trying to say is that we think differently. The way I might project a thing, because my mind thinks differently. But
you can articulate well. You need to understand that. That's a very big plus point. Not everybody can.
So let me tell you how for an ADHD child it's easy. For me, networking started because my father took me to a old Delhi railway station and said, that couple there, their name and country, a big double-decker chocolate. The only thing I knew in hostel was that we would exchange foods. I went with my apples and I looked at them, smiled and said, Vicky. She picked me up. I still remember the names. Andy and Jeremy from New York. I have been networked. That's the thing which I learned, that I can network anywhere with anybody. So my book also, which comes out, I've had conversations, like, imagine, for me, when ADHD doesn't put me a definite, I wrote a open letter to Sachin Tendulkar on Facebook when the whole world was calling for his retirement in 2009. Stupid to write Sachin Tendulkar, Planet Earth. I put it on Facebook and I write a letter there. After 5 years, somebody passes on the letter and I get a call from his manager. Vikram, can you fly down to Bombay? Sachin wants to spend time with you. I flew down, me and Sachin hung out. It came out in the papers, right? So what I'm trying to say is that
You're thinking out of the box all the time.
we are thinking out of the box. There is no definition. You know, I chat with Suzanne Vega. She's a top
Taking
rock star.
chances.
You know, there's no inhibition. There's no. So I think the world needs to understand that we are all differently built and respect and accept the way we are, and understand our strengths of it. Educate. If I was educated about what is my strength, and you know, I would have handled things much better very early. You know, and that's with every child, with every couple before they get into marriage. You know,
That's
for every
education.
teacher when he takes
Yeah.
on a classroom.
Anything, be it anything, of course.
That shift awareness has to change.
Yeah.
So our planet, I think, we need to change the way we look at minds totally.
Yeah.
One of the things which I think a lot of educationists are looking at is, if the whole family gets into the practice, the early hours of letting the thoughts flow, not the programmed reels, and we have our own reel running, and each one is a movie or a book or a story. You know, and that's the beauty of what ADHD is teaching us.
That's because you understand it, but to do it practically today, I think it's
No, I'm saying, see,
it's a little difficult.
what is stopping a parent? It is a fear stopping, no, based on his own conditioning. You know, क्या हुआ अगर ये नहीं किया, इसके 12th में marks नहीं आए, university में अच्छा नहीं मिला. So that is somewhere close. He's not thinking that same child
can do exceptionally well
at any stage. You know, he could possibly figure out. You look at all the people who change industries. You know, we have so many examples, like
there's so much learning that has just happened for me. Okay, there's so much to process, Vikram. Okay, probably we'll take it up again. Okay?
No, it's been an absolute.
Because let me also, I'm gonna watch this one myself and see what is really out there for people to watch. Thank you so much for coming, Vikram. We'll take it up again.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I hope more people get aware of ADHD.
Definitely.
And they don't think it's a disorder. It's a gift.
It's a gift. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so
again.
much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.